Hello everybody, I am back with the C64 Basic Marathon going on here, and in this session what we're going to be doing is learning how to read and write to files which will be necessary for the upcoming game that I'm trying to work on. It's a simulated game at this time. I'm going to be using some extractions of other C64 role-playing adventures to kind of throw that out to you. And let's get that started. And always, I appreciate your subscriptions. So to explore some of the role-playing adventures here, I'm going to go over just a few here. The first one you're seeing being demonstrated here is called Temple of Aspy. It was actually created around 1979 by Epix, and later for the Commodore 64 it was released at somewhere around 1980. So it's a pretty dated game. You can see it's actually complete with its own sprites. I believe those are sprites. And animation. I do believe it's also written in BASIC. That may explain the slow movement here. You can see the character kind of moving up the screen there. And it redraws the screen, so I'm pretty sure it's in BASIC. Let's watch it a little bit. So the whole idea of this is learning from role-playing games and what they do. Now I don't own this actual game, but I just found this on YouTube. So yeah, this is Temple of Aspy. Some of the things we could do to kind of explore. Obviously, some of the things I do want to do is speed up the sprite movement. It's actually pretty slow here. That can be done later. But a lot of the other stuff is kind of similar to what we'll be doing. Of course, we'll be having room numbers and stuff like that. Who knows where to go from there. Okay, so the next one we are exploring here is the Ultima 4 Quest of the Avatar. This was a really fun game back in the days of actual gaming themselves on the Commodore 64. They actually made several versions of this one. This game was actually released at somewhere around like the early 80s. I was trying to see if I could find it there. But it's a really fun game. Let's explore that. It's also complete with music too. This game has been emulated a lot too. We can take some of the concepts from this game and kind of introduce them into our own. This one also is very similar to like text adventures, where you enter and respond to a console, and you get messages and stuff like that to kind of explore around. It's also tile-based from what I'm seeing here. I can tell there's the characters that's plotted on the background, but there's no sprite. That's probably just so they could easily detect the character movement and collision detection and stuff like that. Still not a bad game for its time. Plus, you got to give them credit. They also had music in this game for that era. Pretty cool for a game actually having the music and everything. Because at that time, games were so new and stuff like that. There weren't a lot of games released on the market, so some of them actually didn't even really have music. This one was kind of stand out among them. And they were like kind of interacting with people there. But it has some of the other concepts we can use from our game as well, which I do believe it's like the shops, you know, talking to people and stuff like that. Those are very common in the RPG type games that were popular during that time. Okay, so the next one we'll be exploring is called Talonguard. Okay, so in back, this one's going to be a good one to emulate from, since it keeps track of game statistics like strength, intelligence, wisdom, and then dexterity character. At this time I can't think of what con stands for. These are the various different things in the game that'll give your character depth, and also give your character strength, you know, and kind of determine what your character can and can't do. Now here we see it, and I have it paused because this person is narrating over it. I just wanted to demonstrate myself. Kind of what you see on the screen there. It keeps track as you're going to battles. You also have shops in this game. There's a lot of cool stuff that we can emulate from with our actual game. And it even has mouse clicking. I can see the little arrow on the screen there. And there's also the ends. I forgot about the ends. The ends are like whenever you need to get well again. And they have some nice character animations and sprite animations in this one. We can adapt those using sprite pad and stuff like that. We can emulate and create some really nice graphics and animation of sprites and stuff like that. What I really want to do different from a lot of these is actually utilize a multicolor character set so we can really get some really nice 4x4 tiles going on. And I'm going to, of course, attempt all this in BASIC. Okay, and this one also interacts with the keyboard and stuff like that. And it's got different random things that can happen. You can fall in the holes, you can go upstairs, downstairs. There's a lot of good surprises I like about this game. It's even got a little build and help editor to show you kind of like what to do, how to fight, and you know, just different things you can do throughout the game in healing yourself and stuff like that. So that's kind of cool. So anyways, we could sit there and talk about these games all day, but I just wanted to kind of give you guys a glimpse into what we're going to be doing as we continue to explore our C64 Basic Marathon. Okay everybody, so we are back on the desktop here, and as usual I have the Commodore 64 WinVice emulator up on the screen for your enjoyment. So what we're going to be doing obviously is exploring role-playing adventures, and I'll be working off of those. And like I said, the most important thing for role-playing adventures and in regard to, you know, basic or, you know, games in general, is making sure you have the ability to save and retrieve files back and forth. So that's what we're going to be working on today. I know it's kind of a boring thing, but that's kind of where we're going. So I've already created a model program that we can work directly off of, so we don't have to kind of try to throw things out on the fly. People are asking me what we're going to kind of do and stuff like that. I think a little bit more pre-planning is still good, even though this is a basic marathon and I enjoy racing through things. Sometimes too many mistakes can be made, so let's try to do this in session if I have to. So what I'll be doing is I'll be just kind of explaining this program as I'm typing it in here. So we're going to be creating some different parts of our characters, and I'm creating the variables right now. Just going to use my name as an example, and then we're going to create the next one. Is called a rank, and in this example I'll just use officer. The next one is strength, and going to be defined by a number, and then the next one would be dexterity, which is 250. We have intelligence, which is 200. Skill, I set that to 1. Potion, for potions, is going to be a 1, and then knowledge is going to be a 3 for now. Okay, so that's the first part, is defining the variables, and now we're going to create some go subs here to kind of go down through the program a little bit here. And I got to kind of keep track because I know these lines are a little bit different than my lines here. So what I'll do is I'll just set this to 55. We'll say go sub 600, go sub 810, and we'll start working on those lines so that there's little to no confusion here. So I'm just going to go ahead and put those lines up on my screen from my editor mirrored program here and begin to work here. Oh, I've got two environment windows I'm working in here, so I'm trying to keep track of everything I'm doing here. Okay, so I need to... Alright, so anyways, 600. Okay, so I need to teach you something a little bit different before we go to this next line. What we're going to be doing now, instead of using the Poke 646 for the text coloring changes, we're going to be using the Commodore 64 built-in characters, which allows you to change the screen colors, and you can move this cursor around, you can home the screen and do a lot of different things. So line 600, and if you look at line 30, it's already doing that actually. Line 30 shows a little picture of a heart, an inverse heart. That's actually a clear screen character. So for line 600, we're going to print this. That is a home that basically moves the cursor all the way to the top left-hand corner. And then next, we're going to be changing the screen white. And that's going to be, you hold down your control key, your tab key, and you press number 2. Which would be similar to probably pressing your control key on the keyboard there. Or, yes, the control key. And then 610, we're going to now use another character. You just hit the down arrow key here, and it puts 2 Qs. Those are just a down symbol to move the screen down. We're going to type in our name, and then our string, as we define enum strings. And I'll just do this for the rest of everybody here. I'm probably going to pause here for a second to save some time. Okay, so I've gone ahead, I'm back here, and I've typed in the appropriate Information, which would be our name, our rank, our strength, our dexterity, our intelligence, our skill, potions, and knowledge. Now, as we continue forward in the game, probably more stuff may be introduced and stuff like that. The whole point is I want to try to make this as close to a role-playing adventure as I can, which in that case will have, like, shops you can visit and just different places where you can, what do you call it, like hospitals or whatever, where you can get well and stuff like that again. Just different things that would make it emulate very close to that same environment. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to work on the next ghost up, which is number 810, and I'm just going to list it. You also notice I've changed the color here, so it's a little bit easier to see things. So 810 is going to be back to our print tab, and then what we're going to do here is we're going to hit the down arrow key, and then we're going to use our yellow command, which is actually, I did tab. You got to hold down tab and press 8, and that's the yellow symbol. And this right here is going to be a key subroutine, so you're going to learn something new here. So as I'm introducing stuff, I'm trying to explain it the best as I can. What I'm doing here is I'll go ahead and type the line in first, and then I'll explain it afterward. Okay, so what we're doing is we're reading the keyboard, the line 820, which is our get A strings. And get A strings is looking for a space. That's why I put if A strings equals nothing. If there's no space found, it's going to return. If there's a space found, it's going to return. It means it found the space bar. Otherwise, it's going to go to line 820, and it basically keeps waiting for you to press the space bar. That's how you trap a key and continue to, make sure that you're searching for that key. Now we're finally get into the good stuff here. So I think I'm going to just clear the screen here a minute. And I can do this with my little shortcut here. And then I think I'll move on to the next lines down. Just taking a look here. That'll be from 55 down. So I'll just list from 1 to like 70 or so. So we're consistent where we were. Okay. Next, we're going to be opening up what's called an error channel. On the Commodore 64, it keeps track of what your files are doing and whether there's going to be an error. Since we're going to be writing to a file, we need to know if there's going to be an error or not. So I'm going to introduce line 60 here. And we're going to say open 15, 8, 15. And then next, we're going to use a go sub. And I'm just going to skip a line down as I did in the example here. We'll set it to 500, and we'll put check for errors. And since we've hit a go sub here again, we're now going to go back down to, we can blot out this stuff anyway, so that's what edits are for. So I'm going to say edit, do whatever I want. Edit. Oh, so if I press the home key, and if I hold down the control key and I press the home key, it will serve as a clear screen, just like its corresponding key. Okay, next what we're going to be doing after we've checked the error channel here, or we're going to be checking the error channel, so I've already opened up the file here, and now we're going to be going to line 500 here, and I'll introduce that to you. So 500, we just input from the file we opened, which is 15. EN, that's the error number. EM strings, that's the error message. ET, that's the error track, and ES is for the error sector. And just know if there's an error, this next line is going to print them out. You can also change these if you want to, the values, but by standard, these are usually kept the same. Okay, and then we returned, so we're good with that one. And let's continue back on to where we were, as is, right? Okay, so the next line we're going to be going is from down 65, and I need to reorient my edit program here again. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is finally we're going to open up a an open channel. It's a save channel to allow us to start saving data. So I think I'm going to pause here for a minute and I'll explain afterward. Okay, so now that I've entered that data to explain that, we've got line 70, which opens the file. It's opening 2 to use a different file to open with, since we've already used 15 for the error channel. And the next thing you see there is 2 comma 8. 2 is the file number, 8 is the device number. And then we've got the at. You see the little at sign with the 0. That means to write over, so that we can continue to write over this data. And this one we're calling row data. And you see the S and the W, that's sequential write. Basically, it's going to write one after the other. Now, there's also a different type of writing you can actually do. We're not going to explore that right now for random access and stuff like that, just to make it simple. And also, just to kind of mention, later I'm probably going to randomize the skill levels, which is common in role-play adventures, but for now we're just using regular data. Okay, and then we got the name, we got the rank, we got the strength, dexterity, intelligence, skill, potions, and knowledge. And I just showed that those messages are being written to the screen. Line 85, of course, is clearing the screen and just setting a print. All right, let's move on. All right, so the next thing we're going to be doing is just finishing this out with a delay here. So I'm going to go back to my example program here. And we'll continue to line 100. And like I said, I'm mirroring a program above here, so I'm doing my best I can to kind of keep consistent with everything here. I think that's good right there. Okay. So we're going to go to our delay, and I just called it DE for delay. 2000 is good enough to kind of hold it for a little long pause there. And I just put my little message. I'll explain this in a minute here. You just saw that we're going to be clearing variables. So we're clearing the variables just to prove to you that it'll work. So once we save them, they'll be in memory. We write them out, we clear them out, and then we just load them back in from the file. Okay, so the next line here is just saying clear variables and close the file. Whoops. And if you put 2 quotes like that next to a string, that will clear that variable from memory, the string variable, and everything else you just proceed it with the 0. Whoops. You can also use a dot that will convert it back to a 0, but it works as a 0. And then now we're going to finally close the file. So 113 is going to say close too, since we're done with that file. The next step we'll be doing is we'll be reading the file here. Okay guys, we are back here, and in this next part we are just going to be reading the file. So you'll notice it looks very similar to writing the file. The only difference is on line 120, instead of having the at, you just have the 0, because you don't need to, when you're reading a file, you don't need to save as writing over it, since it's just going to be pulling the data that's already there. You also notice on that line, the row data comma S, which has the R at the end. As you can probably guess, it's a sequential read instead of a W for write. And then the next line, we're going down, we're going to check our error channel again on line 30, like usual, to pull those status registers if we need to. And then from lines 140 to 44, we're just reading in our data that we saved earlier. Okay, so now we're finally going to finish the rest of this program. We're going to clear the screen, and then again, you hold down the control, you hit your home key. That will allow you to put the clear screen in. And then we're going to be doing some more colors. So we're going to be holding the tab key, press 8. And just making sure I did this right. Read variables. Actually, this one is different. Hold on. Okay, so I was actually using tab 6 for the up arrow here. And these are just kind of status messages telling you what's going on. I just now realized I don't need that next line there. Maybe a print. gonna use the tab 6. Oops, I mean it's tab 8. Now we're just printing messages on the screen from the variables that we captured earlier. We're going to use tab 2 for white because we're going to be changing the color of the variables. And trying to keep track of this as I'm looking at the screen and thinking through here a minute. It's a little tricky when you're trying to remember where those colors are. Okay, to add a little bit of value to this, to explain the Commodore 64 color system for those who are not maybe confused by that, I've actually just created a little insert here for our program for a minute to take away from that and show you the color chart that is actually being introduced here in a wiki. You can see the colors are black and all the way up to, you know, white, red, cyan, all the way down to color, 15. So it goes from 0 to 15. If you look carefully there, you'll see the control key combination going down, and you also see the C key. Now on the actual Vice emulator, it doesn't show you here, I don't think, but the Vice where you see the control +1, that would actually be the tab key +1. And then where you see the Commodore key there going down, to kind of explain that, this is the C equals key right here going down. This is actually going to be the control key on your keyboard. So you would hold the key, control key +1, hold the Commodore key, the control key plus the corresponding number to get the color produced on the screen. So hopefully this color chart will help you get a better idea of what's going on with the Commodore 64. Also, if you backspace while doing that, you'll lose the value of the color, and it'll just start changing the screen. Here, I'll show you an example here. If I backspace here, and suddenly, actually, let's see if I do it here, if I can make it happen. There it is. You see how the colors are just suddenly changing? It means you lost control of that ability to write that color out. So I just go back there and just type it in again. It should do it. There we go. Since it starts the line over again. So make sure you don't have any errors would be good, because if you make any errors, it's not very kind when trying to print these color codes to the screen. Okay, so where am I at now? I'm trying to keep track of my own thing here. So, okay. And I'm just alternating back and forth between those two colors. That's why you see there's different character codes there for each one, different color codes. We may go over a little bit here. Sorry guys, I know you want to see the program, but some of those two want to actually learn, so I think that's it. And 200 should be in, and we should be good. Now to explain what I did here, obviously clear the screen 150, 160. You just see the messages printing to the screen, be variables back into memory. And then from there it's going to print out, the name, the rank, the strength, dexterity, your skill. I'm actually missing the intelligence here. Hold on. Okay, so I just had to type them in. I left out intelligence earlier, so I just went ahead and added it here. Let's finally go ahead and run this. Everything else should be self-explanatory at this point. Okay, you can see it prints out my name, rank, strength, dexterity, intelligence, skill, potions, knowledge, and asks me to press space. Now if I press any key, it does not let me continue until we hit that get A. And we got a break here. Hold on. Okay, so that error we saw earlier was because I forgot to attach the disk image. and it was telling me that there was no emulation existing. And it was throwing out, I know my error channel was working at least. Okay, so we're going to press space here where we left off. And now you can see it throws a few writing messages to the screen letting you know. It also is a message, you didn't see it, but it said clear variables. And now it says read variables back into memory, and it shows your name is Steve, your rank is officer, and I have an error here because I noticed it's showing strength as officer. We can just go ahead and fix that here. Your rank is, your strength is. Oh, I had it for the same thing. I had RN strings for that because earlier I was really inserting a line there, so that should work. You saw it there? Okay. Yeah. Okay, so your name is Steve, your rank is officer, strength is 320. You have a dexterity of 250, intelligence level is 200. Your skill is at 1. Potions on hand is 1. Knowledge is currently at 3. So there's the whole program for you in a nutshell, right? Go ahead, definitely leave me any comments, feedback. We'll be continuing on this game series, so not throwing too much at you, but eventually, obviously, we're going to have sprites in it because we're going to emulate after the Ultima. We're also going to emulate off of the Telengard and, Temple of Asphi, all these other different kind of role-playing games. And if I can find any more, get suggestions, I'll take them. I'd like to really make a really cool role-playing game. I've never actually made one. So I'll be taking apart some of these other programs to learn from them, but it'll be fun. So thanks for watching, guys. Keep those subscriptions coming. Help me grow this channel. This is a very hard channel to grow, and I have no idea why, but I appreciate your subscriptions very much. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.